Country Life on Midlands 103. Brought to you by W. Shaw Burlington Business Park Tullamore. Supplier of New Holland's tractors in the Midlands. WRShaw.ie.
Now, good evening and welcome to Country Life here on Midlands 103. It's MJ Clery with you until 8 p.m. this evening. Bring you the latest from the Midlands and further afield from the worlds of agriculture, food and agri-business. Now, thank you all for joining me this evening as always. Lots of rain and cold weather the last few days in the Midlands. Obviously, we're not getting the same amount of rain as they're getting down in the southeast, but we are still getting an amount, but a huge amount of rain falling down there just on the news. Up to 100 millimetres of rain tonight, 4 inches of rain. What an amount of rain that is. So hopefully everybody down there stays safe and their property isn't damaged by that level of rain. With ourselves this evening here on the programme, we're going to start with Declan Hanrahan, Leishman and IFA Beef Chair. He's going to join us live from Dublin to give an update from the ongoing demonstration at the Board Bia offices. More on that in just a moment. Also this evening, how much are you spending on contractor charges? The average Irish farmer spends just over €7,000 per annum, but contractors are still struggling with rising costs coming at them from all angles. Michael Maroney from the FCI with more on that a little bit later. Irish whisky, one of the jewels in the crown of our agri-food exports, with our export figure hovering around the €1 billion mark each year. It looks set to benefit as a new trade deal has been signed with the EU and India. And the people in India have a great draw for Irish whisky, if you'd believe it. Owen O'Cahan from the Irish Whisky Association will join us later with more information on that. And obviously that filters back into our entire agri-food industry, so good news there. Also this evening, Liam Kelly from Teagasc has information on upcoming Teagasc forestry clinics in the Midlands, and Shay Galvin from AgriAware chats about their recently launched programme getting ag science students out onto farms across the country. Now, text or WhatsApp the show here 083 30 10 103. Happy to bring to our guests this evening. As I said from the outset, we are going to start with Leishman IFA Beef Chair Declan Hanrahan, who is joining us live from the Board Bia offices, outside the Board Bia offices, Mount Street in Dublin. What is the state of play at the moment, Declan, please?
Good evening, MJ. Yes, look, as it stands here, we have a nice crowd outside the offices, and we have 11 members inside also. Yesterday, we took up residence inside, and they remain in situ until Larry Murren is removed from his position as chair of Board Bia. I think from the outset, and as Francie Gorman has made it quite clear, that it's unbelievable that a chair of Board Bia that's promoting, that Board Bia themselves promoting Irish food all over the world, and farmers that are listening to this programme tonight and all over this country that are quality assured. They know the audits go on every 18 months. You know yourself what is needed to get past an audit. It's unbelievable that the chair then of Board Bia would be involved, his company would be involved in the importation of Brazilian beef that does not meet the same traceability, or does no Brazilian farmers have to go through the same audits that Irish farmers have to go through. That's the kernel of it, and we think that it's unbelievable, again, that he would remain in situ. As Francie has said, he looked for his resignation, he didn't give it, and he looked for his removal. And for the Minister and the government to come out and support him the way they did, and mention IFA in the Dáil, again, it beggars belief.
Well, I think, Declan, the majority of Irish farmers, if not all, are of the same viewpoint in relation to this, and they echo your sentiments. However, it doesn't seem like things are moving in any great direction in relation to it. So are the IFA planning to stick it out when it comes to this demonstration?
We have been very clear from the beginning. We're not moving from here until Larry Murren is removed from his position. And we are doing a lot of work behind the scenes with government TDs, all TDs, to put pressure on the Minister for Agriculture and to put the pressure on the Taoiseach and all to remove Larry Murren from his position. if he doesn't resign from his position.
Yeah, that's where it's at, Declan, just so people understand it. If Larry Moran doesn't resign from his position, he can only be removed by a political standpoint. That's correct, isn't it?
Yes, that is correct. Yes, if he doesn't voluntarily resign from his position, he can be removed by the Minister of Agriculture on the day.
Yeah, well, Declan, what I'd say to you is there's a lot of people up in the Burbia offices and outside on the street now, and what you're doing is you're standing up for Irish farming, you're standing up for Irish agriculture, and you're making your point heard. And I think on behalf of farmers here across the Midlands, we are in support of this demonstration, and we are waiting to see what occurs from it, and hopefully it will be the resolution that we all want. This is my third week now talking about this in the programme, and I'd say the likes of yourselves, all farmers, all busy in the springtime, you have better things to be doing. I know yourself, Declan, as well. You have cows calving and whatnot in County Laois. You have better things to be doing than up in Mount Street, but you're doing it on behalf of Irish farmers, and thank you in relation to that, because you have to go up there, you have to spend your time there, and not everybody is at it. So it is the sentiment of farmers across the Midlands and indeed the country.
Yes, and it is the sentiment, and we're up here, I, as livestock chair with IFA, represent livestock farmers across the country, sucklers, beef finishers, everyone. They know what and you know yourself what entails to get through a Board B audit. And for the chairman to say that we need Board B approval to sell to blue chip companies, and then turn around and say them same companies are willing to accept Brazilian beef without audits. It just does not add up. And I think farmers are sick of it at this stage, listening to this double standards being peddled by a few. And as I've said to you from the beginning, and Francie Gorman has made it quite clear, we're not moving from the offices of Board B until Larry Moran is gone from his position.
Very good, Declan. When we have you, look, the state of play when it comes to this, obviously farming is occurring and going on the ground on a daily basis. Springtime now, cows being calved. Blue tongue is the topic for discussion now for the next couple of moments. An update on it, Declan, and I suppose the big one is in relation to exports. We're going to be coming into the time of the year now where the Frisian bull calf especially is going to be heading to the continent. Where are we on that?
Blue tongue tree viral tree detected on farms in Wexford. Only the farms that have the blue tongue are restricted. Marts and factories can continue to operate as normal. There's no food safety issues. Some international trade certs need to be amended, but as it stands, where the majority of the calves would go to, they would go to Spain, the Netherlands. Them markets are opened as it presently stands.
Yeah, very good, and hopefully that continues. A word on the trade, Declan, when we have you. A little bit of a bounce, fair to say, in the last week or so?
Yeah, the negativity that was in the trade earlier on has ceased. Numbers back a little bit, but factories just added a bit slower to rise than when they were decreasing. But what we have seen on the steer side, we have seen prices from some of them quoting 710s up to 720s. Heifers again from some of them on 710s up to the best on 730s, depends on where you're going and the number of stock. But in general, more positivity in it. Some factories a little bit more active than others for stock, or if they get enough stock for this week, they're not as active if farmers ring them. But in general, more positivity in it, and we would encourage farmers to fight hard for the best price and don't accept the first quote that you get, because there is more available from the market.
Yeah, I see in yesterday's Farming Indo, you're quoted here, Declan, saying that strong demand for beef for next day slaughter is seeing mart prices well above quoted factory prices. That
can be seen on the heavy cow side. It can be seen on out of spec cattle in the marts as well, where they can make, if you equate it back to the value of the slaughter, where they're exceeding those prices. Any farmer can see that's another good outlet for cattle if you're not satisfied with the price that the factory is coming up with.
Yeah, especially the farmer who has smaller numbers, Declan, maybe doesn't have that bargaining power. It's the way to go, really.
Yeah, as you have said, the bigger numbers, of course, you have more bargaining power. But in general, it depends on the type of cattle. Angus cattle that are hitting all the specs, more leeway with that. So in general, we would say to farmers, work it out. And if you see that you're getting a better price in the mart, go that route and fight hard for the best price.
Declan, before I let you go, just in relation to the demonstration this evening, timing-wise then, what time do you stay on the street till and then in the morning again, or how does it work?
There's a 24-hour presence here at all times. There's a rota system in place. Different counties, different committees come at different times. Anyone can come at any time, whichever suits them. But there's a 24-hour. There's people that stay overnight, and that's the way it is. And as I said to you, there's 11 people that are locked inside. And this morning, or even they were going to be refused food, but Forbia during the day said that food could be taken into them 3 times. So we have resolved that, and their resolve is to remain there until Larry Murren is removed.
Well, you're standing firm on it, Declan. Many thanks for joining me here from the Borbia offices in Dublin, and we will be speaking to you again on the programme. Thanks, Declan.
Thanks very much, MJ. Thank you.
Declan Hanrahan there, IFA Beef Chair from Borrisnostry in County Laois, and IFA are not going to back down on this, I feel. Declan, very, very strong sentiment there. A 24-hour presence at the moment, and that's been going on now for the last number of days, and they are not for moving. So how will this play out, I wonder? It is going to be a very interesting one, but when people on the ground want something to occur, and if they stick with it, as the members of the IFA are doing, and then again their on the ground members go to their TDs and their elected representatives and whatnot, there is a trickle effect to that. So look, let's see how it occurs. But hard-working individuals there, all taking time from their busy farming schedules at the busiest time of the year to really make a stand. And isn't that what we want in Irish agriculture, people standing up for us? So fair play there, I must say. And you're very welcome back to Country Life here on Midlands 103. Now we're moving on to AgriAware, and they have a series of farm walks aimed at secondary school agricultural science students. Shay Galvin is the man who's going to tell us all about that now for the next few moments. Shay, many thanks for taking my call here this evening on the programme.
Thank you, MJ.
We're going to talk about this in a moment, Shay, but before we do, first time I was speaking to here on the programme. You're not from Laois, Offaly or Westmeath. Shay, with that accent, tell us where you're from and a little bit about your background, your farming enterprise, please.
Yeah, so I'm farming in County Limerick with my brother John in Croom. We beef and tillage, and originally we're from County Kerry, but 50, well, I don't know, I was 3 or 4 when we moved up, and I'm about just over 50 now, so I still have a bit of a twang of a Kerry accent, alright, but yeah, we've been living in Limerick for 40-something years, and we're still known as the Kerry people in Limerick, so I know we're still blow-ins, I suppose. So farming-wise, we calf to beef, we buy calves, take them the whole way to 24 months and slaughter them at that age, and tillage, we grow everything from wheat, barley, oats, rye, and a bit of maize as well, which we sell to dairy farmers.
Much tillage in your neck of the woods down there, Shay?
In the whole of County Limerick, about 2,000 acres.
Right.
2.5. Yeah, there's very little because, and there's probably even less now. That was in 2023, and I think with the competition of nitrates and dairy farming, it's very hard to compete because, like, in nearly all tillage that's grown in the country, about 50% of it is on rented ground. So, and we've a lot of rented ground, and it's just harder to compete for that in Limerick. And there's just so much competition from dairy farmers around Limerick anyway.
Well, it's similar to this part of the world. I think that's going to be the trajectory for the foreseeable, unfortunately. But in relation to the beef enterprise, Shay, you're talking of finishing calves. This time of the year now, we always have a look at calves and calf prices. How do you work when you're purchasing calves? Is it direct from farms? Is it through marts? Or maybe you have contacts set up at this stage?
It is all direct from farms, so we kind of do deals with farmers that we've good relationships with, and we do a deal early in the year or around now. We'll say that we'll take their first 50 or 100 calves, depending on how many, the size of the herd, and we take them at around 17 or 18 days old, roughly. So generally, we have good relationships with them. We've been collecting calves off the same farmers for maybe the last 4 or 5 years, or 6 years, 10 years in some cases, and it shows, because when you have that relationship, they know exactly what you're looking for. So when they're putting the cow and calf, they put in calf to what you want, and they know that by looking after their calf for the first 2 weeks, that they'll have a customer to come back next year. And you have to ride out the highs and lows. Yes, calf prices are extremely high at the moment, but they're extremely low at other times. And we're consistent. We'll keep coming and taking them off the same people. Like, so we've about 7 farmers we collect calves off.
Yeah, as you say, right out the highs and lows, and it is all about a relationship with an individual as well. And it is important, I suppose, not to forget that in a year where there are going to be higher calf prices. But as you say, you have to remember, maybe in a couple of years' time, it won't be like that. Yeah.
And like even go back 5 or 6 years ago, we used to do a lot of Frisian bull beef, but because more and more fellas or the farmers we were dealing with took up sex semen, so they had less Frisians, so we're transitioned. We've more whiteheads and pollies now, and we have some Wagyus, but there's less and less Frisians available. So it suits, because we used to do Frisian bull beef, and they're becoming harder and harder to manage and harder to market.
Yeah, and we are seeing sex semen then really play its role. There's fewer and fewer of them around in the last number of years. Yeah, and it's good in a way that the farmer who's breeding can choose to breed up the best, and he doesn't need to breed too many by having the sex semen. He knows exactly how many replacements he will need. Exactly. Look, it takes the guesswork out of it. We'll move on, Shay, to AgriAware, and speaking about the reason I have you on the programme here. So AgriAware, Farm Walk and Talk returns with additional dates. What's this about, Shay, please? So Farm Walk and Talk is designed for leaving cert agricultural science students to give them an opportunity to step onto a working farm, because a lot of people who do agricultural science for the leaving cert, they mightn't be from a farming background, or they might be from just a beef farming background or just a dairy farming background. So this gets to bring them onto a farm where they can ask questions about other enterprises, we'll say, which is very important considering they're coming up to the leaving cert in a couple of months' time, and they will be able to see. For some people, it's easier to see it than to read it off a textbook. So when you see it, you understand it better. There will be people at all the stands there as well who the students can ask the questions. And so like if it was some question about sheep, or a question about beef, or a question about tillage, a question about soils, there will be people there at various stands throughout the day in each of the 10 venues. There's 14 events in 10 venues, and there will be experts there to give the students advice on stuff like that. And even for their individual assessment or individual investigative projects, we'll have a specialised desk there, so the student can get a third person to look over it besides their existing agricultural science students, and this person might give them pointers as to where they're missing out or where they could get extra marks by talking to the person on that desk, we'll say. And in 2025, over 4,100 students took part. That's a lot of students, so really going from strength to strength. It's a great initiative, I have to say. Yeah, it's fantastic, and like 4,100 students last year, and there's actually probably even more booked in already, because we've 2 extra dates this year, and they're all full up as it is. They're not all booked up completely, but there's been an increase in interest in them, so it's very good. I mean, it is definitely, I've actually been to some schools actually in the Laois Offaly area. I can't remember the school now, but like there's people there who are new Irish and not from a farming background, but are studying agricultural science in the leaving cert. So they're not from a farming background, but they really are interested in agriculture. And there's so many careers agri-related outside of just farming that it's very important that they get a basic knowledge of it. And even if you do or don't believe in climate change, the solution to climate change is in farming, as in it will be about nature, biodiversity, and farmers can provide that. And it's by studying agricultural science at leaving cert, students get to see this, and they get to choose courses in college which will lead them down that direction. Yeah, and then I suppose the other side of it as well, Shay, is for children who are from, or teenagers, young adults who are from a farming background themselves to go do ag science, go to these days, really get a feel and a graw for it, maybe go on and study, and then with a view to generational renewal and getting that younger generation involved in agriculture, which is probably our biggest challenge in Irish agriculture at the moment.
Oh, it's a huge challenge. Like, I think the average age is it just over 60 or just under 60?
59, I think, yeah.
59, yeah. So, like, and that leads to an awful lot of complications. And look, we've seen this before when the economy was booming in 2005 and 6 and 7. An awful lot of people were going away from agriculture, and then they came back to agriculture again. But agriculture is consistent. It's always there. And it's not always about the money either. Like, I mean, if you're in a job you love, farming is a great way of life, or being in the agri industry is a great way of life. There's nothing worse than being in a job where you don't like the job, no matter how much you're getting paid. So you really have to love what you do for the rest of your life. So we're trying to encourage people down the agri route, because there is so many jobs. It's a job you can easily travel with. I mean, I was actually talking to my cousin's husband, who was home from the Middle East, and he's running a dairy farm out there, and they're expanding into another farm in Algeria. Like, there's so many jobs worldwide, and even if you go to Australia or anywhere, there's jobs worldwide in the agri industry, and even we'll say the basic agri industry, which is animal husbandry, but you could go on and study agri engineering or agricultural engineering or mechanical engineering with agri focus on it as well. So there's a huge broad spectrum, and even in laboratory technicians. Like, I mean, if you go up to NACE there, the Kerry food ingredients thing, like, they're all scientists, but they're actually they're trying to do stuff with food the whole time. So, like, at least if you'd study agricultural science, it gives you basic knowledge of agriculture.
Yeah, world of opportunities. You're a passionate man in the area, Shane, no question about that. I know by talking to you. Thanks for joining us here on the programme, and a great initiative there by AgriAware. We'll speak to you again, Shane.
Okay, thanks. Actually, MJ, just before I go, I would like to thank just our partners who help us deliver this. It's Tegask, Farmers Journal, UCD, School of Agricultural and Science, and the LOETV, the Laois Offaly Education Training Board. They're partners this year for the first time, and they actually do put in an awful lot of work in the Laois Offaly area, trying to encourage students to study agricultural science, which is great. It's a great initiative by them.
Fantastic. Many thanks, Shay. Shay Galvin there, AgriAware. And those days are taking place all over, actually. Month of March in Pallaskenry, Moore Park, Mountbellew, Ballyhaise, Kildalton. And over 4,000 students took part last year. And more again this year. Going to see hands-on farming occurring on those farms. Forestry is what we're speaking about for the next few moments. Liam Kelly from Teagasc joins us. Liam, many thanks for taking my call this evening.
Thanks, Jim.
Some upcoming clinics across the Midlands, Liam. We're going to speak about those in a moment. But as an advisor in the area in the forestry for many a moon, we saw, I suppose, a challenging time last time. Now we have Minister Healy Ray. Has he restored some confidence in the sector, would you say, Liam?
Yeah, well, he came in at a difficult time with the storm damage was very impactful, especially up the west. So it is a difficult time, but he has certainly hit the ground running, and he's brought new schemes in that will hopefully come into play over the next few weeks in relation to reforestation.
Yeah, and that's, I suppose, what you want. You want people to attend your clinics if they have an interest in it. Tell us, where are they occurring, and what can people find out if they join?
Yeah, well, we're doing these are one-to-one clinics. We normally run a few series of them each year. So this year we're running 33 across the country, one in each county. The local ones is in Mullingar, Teagasc Mullingar next Monday, the 9th of February, in the Mullingar Teagasc office. And then on the Monday the 16th, we're in Portage, also in the Teagasc office. And then on Tuesday the 17th, we're in the Teagasc office in Tullamore.
And
people can book in exactly. Locally in through the local office and get a time slot. Each time slot will be for 1 hour, where they can meet me individually and discuss whatever forestry inquiry they have.
From an age demographic perspective, Liam, when you're on these clinics, do you find that it maybe, and maybe I'm wrong here, is it slightly older farmers that are looking for maybe the income from it, that want an easier way of farming, or is it younger people looking for long-term pension plans? What way does it work?
Yeah, well, forestry has changed. I suppose at one stage there's more, people are looking at more commercial pension-style forestry. In the last few years now, there's a lot more swing towards maybe smaller plots, but more supporting the environment and landscape. So smaller, maybe broadleaf plots are more the norm now. Yeah, be all ages, but generally I suppose it would be generally an older age group that would come in to see us. But we would have all age groups coming in at the same time.
Very good, Liam. Well, as you said, it's Mullingar Monday the 9th, Monday 16th Portlaoise and Tuesday 17th Tullamore. So just to ring those offices and book an appointment, that's the way it works, Liam.
Yeah, or book any Teagasc office in the country. There will be a clinic going on over the next 3 weeks. They're being run between the 9th and the 26th of February. So we encourage anyone that, even if you're considering forestry or if you have an existing forest that needs some information on, we'll be there to talk to them. Just book in through your local Teagasc office. Don't turn up unannounced. Just make sure you book a time slot beforehand.
Very good. Many thanks, Liam.
Okay, thank you.
Liam Kelly there from Teagasc. So they are running throughout the Midlands and indeed the country. And as we said, Mullingar Monday the 9th, Monday 16th Portlaoise, Tuesday 17th Tullamore. Ring ahead and book a slot if you're interested in finding out a little bit about forestry and how it may work into your enterprise, or it may not, but information is key in relation to these things, so pop along anyway. And you're very welcome back to Country Life here on Midlands 103. Now, whisky is what we're going talking about with the man who knows quite a bit about it. He's from the Irish Whisky Association. It's Owen O'Cahan. Owen, joining me live from Paris. Many thanks for taking my call this evening.
No bother. Thank you very much for having us.
The reason I have you on is in relation to a piece of news that was delivered by the Department of Agriculture last week in relation to a new trade agreement between the EU and India. And you would say to yourself, how is this going to benefit the Irish agri-food industry and indeed whisky? But tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, India is actually a fascinating market. It's the biggest whisky market in the world. Now, a lot of that is domestic whisky. About 95% of it is domestic whisky. But rapidly growing are the likes of Scotch, Irish whisky, Japanese whisky, etc. And it's actually where we've seen among our fastest growth in the past 5 years. So literally year on year, we've gone up 57.5% on sales, that's on volume. So we're selling over 700 cases in India at the moment. And that's all with a tariff of 150%. This new deal, as agreed, as finalised, I suppose, negotiations concluded last week, that will reduce the tariff immediately to 75%, and then it will go down to 40% after 7 years, which I know it sounds 150% is a huge tariff. The immediate reduction by half is a great achievement in itself. But then going down towards 40% would really present a massive opportunity for Irish whisky producers in this very interesting market. And I have to say, like India, as you say, it's not a place that would be at the top of your mind when you think of prime markets for Irish whisky. Whatever they see of Ireland and of Irish whisky, they like, and they've grown year on year on year. We were selling about 70,000 cases in 2020, and now we've gone up to 700,000 last year. So it's a huge area of growth and a huge opportunity.
The interesting aspect of that, Owen, that you said, is the majority of whisky currently in India is their own domestic whisky. Now,
right.
I've heard of a few different things, but I have not heard of traditional Indian whisky. I'm going to guess it wouldn't be up there with our Irish stuff.
Well, look, I mean, I'm very proud of the Irish whisky that we distill on this island, and every country has its own taste. India is a very interesting market. A lot of it will be based on molasses instead of grain, as we have in Ireland. But it's hugely successful in India for the domestic market, but it doesn't export that well. And that's why I suppose there's a bit of an opportunity in India with a rapidly growing middle class and a taste for the more exotic. And traditionally, Scotch would have occupied that space. But as I say, Irish whisky, Canadian whisky, US whisky, Japanese whisky, they're all growing in the Indian market. But Irish is actually growing at the fastest rate. So it's a very interesting, I suppose, opportunity, and one that I'm sure a lot of people are very encouraged to make.
Yeah, and we looked at the Board BA figures back in January on our exports for 2025. We did see whiskey took a little bit of a decline on the previous year. We went down to a little over 900 million, I think, from just shy of $1 billion. So
that's right.
Is this going to be the area now that's going to get us back up again in that regard?
Well, I think if you look at the Board BA figures, there was a 5% decline year on year on the export value of Irish whiskey, and a lot of that was caused by the US and because of the turbulence, I suppose, that you'd have in that market. And we're now facing the 15% tariff, something that we haven't ever had to deal with. Well, something that we haven't had to deal with in over 30 years, since 1997. That has posed, I suppose, considerable issues for a number of exporters. It's a traditional tax, and then what's happening as a result of that is that Irish whiskey distillers are looking towards new markets, and market diversification, I think, is going to be the key theme, not only for Irish whiskey, for Irish drinks, for Irish agri-food exports in the year ahead. And as I say, when there are markets that are kind of opening themselves up, like the likes of India, indeed, the likes of Mercosur, but also the likes of Indonesia, there's a number of markets that are where the EU has concluded trade negotiations or has implemented trade agreements, the likes of Canada, where we saw a 25% increase year on year on our export value. There's a lot of other markets out there, and I think a lot of exporters are very keen and curious to explore those.
How has the business of the micro distillers been in the last couple of years, last period of time? And we saw lots of micro breweries and craft beers. There was a big push on it for a number of years. Maybe has tapered off slightly. In relation to smaller distilleries, what has that been like?
Well, look, the smaller distilleries are obviously dealing with there's a number of issues that they have to contend with. I think what you're finding is there's great support from the likes of the Department of Agriculture, from Board BA, that are really promoting the cause of the small distillers, of the micro distillers, and it's great to have that support. There's some funding being made available to the SMEs to help with their market diversification. What we need to ensure in the year going ahead is that funding goes directly to the exporters. They know best. They're the ones who put boots on the ground, who employ people, who make the investments in the market. We need to ensure that it goes directly to them to allow them to expand in these new markets, or indeed to gain a foothold in those markets that are the most interesting.
Talking about markets, just because you're in France and the rugby match is on tomorrow night, what's the Irish whiskey market like out in that part of the world? Is it selling well out there?
Yeah, I mean, France is one of our top markets within the EU27. We're delighted to be here at an event tonight celebrating the links in Irish rugby between Ireland and France. There was the launch of a new trophy. So tomorrow night, the trophy will be awarded to the winning team. We hope, obviously, it'll be the Irish team tomorrow. It's a very interesting market, again, and there's a real appreciation for high-quality premium products. Of course, the likes of Jameson and Redbreast, they're obviously owned by Pernod Ricard, which is a French company, but there's a lot of other whiskey companies that are doing quite well in this market. It's a very, again, lucrative market, as all the EU26 would be. And again, we have to also remember that we're part of the single market with our EU membership. So the barriers to trade are greatly reduced in the likes of France and the likes of Germany, Poland, all two countries that were in the top 5 of our export markets. That's where we need to really, I suppose, continue gaining a foothold, continue strengthening ourselves. And as I say, there's a recognition of Irish premium products here, and we need to build on that.
I suppose when it comes to exports as well, and it's kind of, saying, it's almost silly to say it, but like they're nice and close to us as well, those countries. So it's easy to get the products out there.
That makes a huge difference. I mean, obviously your export costs are greatly reduced. I mean, when you go to places like India, Japan, Korea, these new emerging markets, oftentimes the biggest challenge that you have is to tell the consumer what Ireland is or where Ireland is. In France, as they probably call themselves, we're now their closest EU neighbour. And there's always been an affinity, I think, between the two countries. So again, I think we have to play to our strengths and play to our wins, and I think France is a place that we can do that. Yeah,
very good. And are you staying around for the game tomorrow evening, Owen?
I wish. Now, I have a flight tomorrow morning from Charles de Gaulle Airport, but if there's a ticket going in the meantime, you never know. You might see me in the Stade de France.
Exactly. A rubber arm could be twisted. Owen, many thanks for joining me here on the programme. Look, the area whiskey, really, really interesting. Such a jewel in the crown of our agri-food exports. So great to talk to you, and we'll speak to you again on the programme.
A pleasure, MJ. Thank you so much.
Ona Cahan there, the Irish Whisky Association. And isn't that an interesting one now about India and their consumption of Irish whisky? Of course, India is the most populated country in the world. It overtook China a period of time ago. It's over 1.5 billion people, and of those 1.5 billion, obviously huge amount of poverty, but then a huge amount of wealth as well. And the middle class like the finer things in life, and people start making money, they start buying nicer things, and that's what's occurring right there. I'm just looking at the figures here for 2024. Irish agri-food exports to India total just over €40 million, almost double the value of exports in 2023, and that was with that huge tariff, 150% for Irish whisky, and the deal is it's now down to 75, and in a further 7 years going to be down to 40. So good news there for the whisky industry. And you're very welcome back to Country Life here on Midlands 103. Now, contractor charges are the order of the next few moments, and we have Michael Moroney from the FCI joining me. Michael, many thanks for taking my call this evening.
Well, thanks for having us on the programme again, MJ.
You're more than welcome, Michael. You may have a radio on in the background, Michael. I can hear a little bit of feedback, but maybe you don't.
No radio.
No, that's fine. No, it's just coming through my headphones. So, Michael, contractor charges, as I said, what we're going to speak about. But I suppose before we do, costs and more costs, indicative of all business now, but contractors more than most, I would say. How are your members dealing, if we look at 2025, how are they dealing with surviving with these costs that are coming at them from every single angle?
I mean, look, cost increases are coming at them from every angle. You're quite right about that. And the one that they're currently coping with is, say, the new pension scheme, and all contractors have to comply with that. So that's an additional cost for this year. And we're looking at possibly a tyre recycling cost, which for a contractor business would be far more significant than many farmers, because the tyres are bigger, and the fee that's being proposed by the tyre recycling organisation would indicate to us, our sector, that it will be costing the sector somewhere in the region of €2, maybe €3 million a year. So that's an additional cost that we have to also factor into account. So how are people coping with it? I suppose the way they're coping with it is to be more efficient, to scale up to an extent they possibly can, but essentially to optimise what they can get them from their machines, so that you've got a machine, but you need to get more work done with the machine and with the team.
Yeah, I suppose you're just always battling, really, Michael, aren't you?
Well, it's a battle with weather and it's a battle with growing conditions, but it doesn't stop people with the sort of ambition or the enthusiasm to deliver the best possible service on farms. And when we look at the numbers in terms of it, the value that contractors are giving to Irish farms is still very, very noticeable. And we look at the numbers even against the background where our price guide would indicate a 4% increase for this year. If we look at over a period of time, taking, for example, the National Farm Survey details, we see that contractor charges as a percentage of overhead costs or direct costs in farms remain fairly consistent at about 4%. A little bit down between 2024 and 2023, about minus 1.5%, because the spend was a little bit lower. And there are probably a number of reasons for that as well, MJ.
If we're looking at the spend, there's some very interesting figures in your release here. One of them, during 2024, the average Irish farmer spent €7,200, just over €7,000, €7,228 on contractor charges, which is, it's a significant amount of money. And when you take it among all the farmers there are in the country, but if you rock on again and you look at Irish dairy farmers, their figure, and obviously dairy farmers, using more contractors, €18,275. So dairy farmers really, really reliant on the contracting service.
They are, because of the nature of what to do, and we're looking at a situation against that background where the farm scale is increasing. We can see that it's up by about 6.8%, and the numbers involved in agriculture dropped by about 4.6% over that period. So what's happening is the number of people involved, or number of farmers involved, are less. Their scale is increasing. Their labour is an issue on farms as much as it is in contractor sectors. So the pressure is to get the work done. We are all working against both the weather and the climate and the time and the seasons. So there's huge urgency to get the work done, and contractors have proven that they can provide the best possible service. And that's acknowledged by many dairy farmers who, again, they take the advantage. They have the option of buying the equipment themselves. But when they look at what the contractor involves, the contractor charges are fully tax deductible against their farm income. So it's a clean, clear, we call it exercise in terms of what they're doing, and they can rely on somebody with equipment, with skill and with experience. And in this sense, many of the contractors are partners with the farmer customers because they're very involved in the whole functioning of the farm.
Yeah, and as you say, that skill set and time, Michael, listen, time really our greatest ally on farms or adversary, depending on the time of the year it is. But there are certain times of the year where, for example, largely stock dairy farm, they just don't have time to go out and spread slurry or whatever the case may be.
And like, you know, labour is an issue, and that's acknowledged everywhere. It's particularly acknowledged within agriculture, and dairy farmers are facing that challenge as well. So they are going to rely more on the contractor services. And what you're seeing then as well is that labour shortages are forcing some people maybe out of contracting. And if you're looking at the costs involved, so we're having a little bit, you know, there is a trend in a sense towards a level of kind of consolidation, and you're having some contractors operating across more than one county because of that. Now they need to scale up, but they need to be careful how to scale up in order that they can maximise their opportunity and that they can maintain a service, because at all times what's crucial for contractors is that they can provide the best possible service in a timely and in a skillful and value for money way.
Just a word on diesel prices before I let you go, Michael, for 2026. Have you any indication as to where they're going to go?
Not much of an indication. We do a regular survey among our FCI members on our WhatsApp groups, and they're quite active. Nothing major coming there at the moment, but we know again that we're going to have a carbon tax increase on the 1st of May, the week or so before silage begins. At this stage we don't like it, but we're nearly conditioned to it every year, and that doesn't increase cost. That cost comes in on the 1st of May, that additional carbon tax increase. So that's something that contractors essentially have to absorb into their business, but it is an additional cost. And at this stage, diesel prices are quite steady, but you know, weather has been poor, demand has probably not been as strong. We just don't know what happens once demand hits there.
What percentage is the carbon tax increase, Michael?
Off the top of my head, MJ, I can't honestly tell you. It's a consistent level of increase over the last number of years until 2030, and farmers or agricultural contractors have to pay it. Farmers can claim it back under a tax exemption, the carbon tax portion of their diesel, but agricultural contractors are not allowed that exemption.
Yeah, it doesn't seem fair, sure doesn't. Michael, I'm just out of time. I'm going to say many thanks for joining me, and the contractors are the lifeblood of Irish agriculture, and as a representative of them from a farmer perspective, we thank the contractors for all the hard work that they do.
And thanks for the opportunity that you give FCI every year on this particular one, MJ. Thank you very much.
Very good, Michael. Michael Moroney there from the FCI. And that is it for this evening's programme. Seems a long time ago since we started now, back at 7 p.m. Declan Hanrahan started the programme there from the Board BIA offices on Mount Street in Dublin, where the IFA are going nowhere until Larry Murren is gone. Shay Galvin from AgriAware spoke to us about that initiative, getting ag science students out of the classroom and onto the farms. Liam Kelly from Teagasc was telling us about forestry clinics. Mullingar, Monday the 9th, Portlaoise, Monday the 16th, I should say, and Tuesday 17th in Tullamore. Ono Cahan from the Irish Whisky Association gives a great rundown there of the opening up of the Indian market for Irish whisky. And lastly, Michael Moroney from the FCI speaking to us about costs and how contractors are trying their best to maintain costs where they are while also trying to make money, a difficult balancing act. That is it for this evening's programme. I will be back with you next Wednesday evening, hopefully without a frog in my throat. You heard me there over the course of the hour, but we got through it. I've been trying to shake this for the last couple of days, but it was what it was. And the show is repeated Sunday morning at 7 a.m. through to 8 a.m. You can also get us wherever you get your podcasts. Type in MJ space Clery, will pop up. We're also on YouTube. I told you this last week, going to YouTube. The programme is on YouTube as well, so you have loads of different areas where you can listen back to the programme at your leisure. We will speak to you in 7 days' time. Good night.